Welcome back to CIA Declassified. 1963, Cordoba, Spain. A 1,200-pound fighting bull named Luciron is charging at full speed toward a man standing alone in the center of the ring. The man isn't wearing a MATADOR suit. He isn't carrying a sword. He's wearing a business suit and holding a small radio transmitter. Just as the bull is inches from goring him, the man presses a button, and Luciro stops instantly. The beast skids to a halt, its aggression vanishing like a blown-out candle. It turns around and walks away, suddenly as docile as a family dog. The man was Dr. Jose Delgado, and while the world saw a scientific miracle, the CIA saw the ultimate weapon, the ability to edit human behavior with the flick of a switch. The declassified logs of the MKUltra Subproject 94 revealed that the agency was deeply invested in Delgado's work on ESB, electronic stimulation of the brain. Dr. Delgado, a Yale neurophysiologist, developed stimulatives, teeny electrodes implanted into the brain that could be triggered by FM radio waves. The CIA provided funding for Delgado's research through various front organizations, hoping to find a way to induce inhibitory states in enemy combatants or political leaders. A quote from Dr. Jose Delgado, Physical Control of the Mind, from 1969. We are at the threshold of a new era, the psycho-civilized society. We can now reach into the brain to inhibit aggression, to induce pleasure, or to compel movement. The individual is no longer a closed system. The brain is a machine that can be remotely operated. End quote. Delgado didn't just stop at bulls. Declassified records show his experiments at Yale involved monkeys, cats, and eventually human patients in mental hospitals. By stimulating the caudate nucleus, he could force a subject to turn their head, raise an arm, or even change their emotional state from rage to euphoria in seconds. Beyond the bull ring, Delgado's declassified laboratory logs describe social hierarchy experiments with colonies of monkeys. By giving the beta monkey access to a lever that simulated the brain of the alpha male, Delgado observed the lower-ranking monkey learn to remotely inhibit the alpha's aggression. This led the CIA to theorize that leadership itself could be moderated or dismantled through technological intervention. A quote from the CIA Office of Scientific Intelligence memo: the potential for applying Dr. Delgado's ESB techniques to the problem of total human control cannot be overstated. If a political leader can be rendered passive during a critical negotiation, the strategic advantage is absolute. End quote. The agency was particularly interested in Subproject 94's findings regarding pleasure centers. Delgado discovered that by stimulating the septal area of the brain, he could induce a state of intense, addictive euphoria. Declassified files suggest the agency explored using this as a carrot for high-level defectors, essentially creating a digital drug that only the CIA could provide. In one declassified experiment involving a human female patient identified as patient number 1, Delgado reported that electrical stimulation of the temporal lobe could trigger forced thinking. The subject would begin to narrate her thoughts uncontrollably, a result that immediately piqued the interest of agency interrogators looking for a high-tech truth serum. The stimulativer was actually an early form of telemetry. It didn't just send signals, it recorded the brain's electrical activity and broadcast it back. Declassified CIA internal papers discuss the possibility of using this to read the emotional state of a target from a distance, allowing them to know when a double agent was feeling the physical stress of a lie. Delgado's research was frequently funneled through the Geschickter Foundation for Medical Research, Geschickter, a notorious CIA front. Documents show that through this foundation, the agency could bypass Yale's ethics committees, allowing for more experimental procedures on human subjects that would never have survived civilian oversight in the 1960s. While the public experiments are well documented, the sections of the agency's files concerning, quote, remote suggestion and long-term compliance, end quote, are blacked out. The heaviest redactions follow the human colony proposal. There is heavy speculation that the CIA funded a secret off-site facility where multiple human subjects were fitted with the stimulatives to see if they could be coordinated as a single unit. The theory suggests the redactions hide the results of social engineering tests where an entire group's mood was manipulated simultaneously via a central transmitter. Further speculation surrounds the audio-visual overlay annex. Analysts believe the redacted pages discuss the development of two-way stimulations. The speculation is that the agency successfully created a device that could not only send commands to the brain, but also broadcast the subject's visual and auditory perceptions back to a remote receiver, turning a human being into a living, breathing surveillance camera. A significant portion of the declassified MKUltra folder 4 is redacted following a discussion on, quote, automatic reflexive responses, end quote. Speculation by intelligence historians suggests this covered experiments in pre-programmed violence, where a subject would be set to perform a specific physical action upon receiving a specific radio frequency, effectively removing conscious choice from the act of assassination. Researchers also point to the long-range signal redactions. There's persistent speculation that the CIA experimented with massive high-powered FM transmitters nicknamed the Big Stick, designed to blanket a small village or a political rally with low-frequency waves intended to induce mass lethargy, or conversely, mass panic. Finally, there is the, quote, termination of biological assets, end quote, section. The redactions here are almost total. Speculation suggests these pages detailed the fail-safe of the stimulation, a method to induce a fatal seizure or cardiac arrest via the implanted electrode if the subject was captured by enemy forces or outlived their usefulness to the agency. Was the electric MATADOR project a success? Scientifically, it was a triumph that laid the groundwork for modern deep brain stimulation used to treat Parkinson's. Operationally, it was a dead end. The technology of the 1960s was too bulky and the surgery too invasive for field use. A quote from a declassified CIA internal review of MKUltra. While Dr. Delgado's results are spectacular in a controlled environment, the requirement for surgical implantation makes the stimulation impractical for clandestine application against non-cooperative targets at this time. End quote. Despite the failure to create a remote-controlled assassin, the agency continued to monitor Delgado's work for decades. When Delgado eventually moved back to Spain, his funding purportedly followed him through a series of European research grants that declassified logs suggest were CIA-managed cutouts. Delgado's work birthed the terrifying field of neuroweaponry, operational breakthroughs. The FM transducer, the project perfected the miniaturization of radio frequency receivers designed to operate inside biological tissue without rejection. Aggression mapping. The CIA mapped the specific trigger zones in the amygdala and hypothalamus data that is still referenced in the study of behavioral control. And brain-computer interface. Operationally, this was the first time a computer, or a remote transmitter, successfully bypassed the five senses to deliver a direct command to the motor cortex. Dr. Delgado claimed he wanted to create a psycho-civilized world without violence, but in the hands of the agency, his dream was a blueprint for the ultimate loss of autonomy. The bull in the ring stopped because it had no choice. The question is, if the button were pressed on us, would we even know it? Next time on CIA Declassified, we move from the laboratory to the streets of Tehran. We examine Operation Ajax. How do you topple a government using nothing but fake riots and paid mobs? Well, we'll look at the declassified logs of the overthrow of the Prime Minister, from the propaganda print shops to the secret protocol for hiring professional protesters. We explore the day the CIA wrote the handbook on regime change. Join us for the King of the Streets. In the meantime, I'll see you in the archives.